Hello class, I'm Abigail Baker, and this is my social work and biblical values project. So for my two assigned readings, I had the scripture from Corinthians 1 and 2 and the book of Galatians. Hopefully I'm saying that right. The first value is service. So obviously social workers' goal is to help people in need and to address any social injustices or problems that they're having. Out of the book of Galatians, I found a verse that I really think is appropriate for the work social workers do. It is chapter 6, verse 2, carry one another's burdens, and this way you will fulfill the law of Christ. So when you're helping others, you understand that you're not only helping them maybe get out of a difficult position, but you're also helping spread the word of Christ by treating them with love and taking their burdens away and making their life more fulfilled. The second verse I found was out of the first book of Corinthians, chapter 4, verse 1. A person should think of us in this way, as servants of Christ and managers of the mysteries of God. So as a social worker, you're going to encounter things that you might not understand, and you might not always have to understand it, but you also understand that you need to help someone. That's a part of the mysteries of God. God didn't make everything perfectly easy. He wanted us to help others and to live in His image of service. So, for value 2, it's social injustice. So, as a social worker, your job is to challenge the status quo, challenge social injustice. The verse that I found was that out of the first book of Corinthians again, chapter 12, verse 12 and 13. For just as the body is one and has many parts of that body, though many are one body, so also is Christ. For we are all baptized by one Spirit into one body, whether Jews or Greeks, whether slaves or free, and we were all given one Spirit to drink. I think that just says that it doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, we're all accepted by God. And as a social worker, you have to treat each person as they are accepted by you, and that they are accepted by society. And if they are being harmed in injustice, help them find a way out of it. For value 3, dignity and worth of a person, it's a social worker's job to help them realize their worth and that they are worthy of dignity and respect at all times. The verse I found was in the second book of Corinthians, chapter 12, verse 9, and it is, my grace is sufficient for you. We're all worthy of God's grace, and I think that even the simplest things God has given to us, we should all be thankful and realize that we're worth each little thing that we have. And as a social worker, you can kind of help someone see the light at the end of the tunnel and make sure they understand that any good that comes their way, they are deserving of it. The fourth value, importance of human relationship. Social workers obviously understand that people need human relationships and they need family members, friends, coworkers, people that can support them and help them. So the verse I found was in the second book of Corinthians, and it's chapter 13, verse 11. And it's, finally, brothers and sisters, rejoice, become mature, be encouraged, be of the same mind, be at peace, and the God of love and peace will be with you. Greet one another with a holy kiss. So with that, just being loving and patient and peaceful and, being of the same mind, understanding that we all have difficulties and we all have, joys, but we can all be there for one another. The fifth value is integrity. So all social workers should hold themselves to a certain level of integrity, and they should always be trustworthy and keep their client at the forefront of anything. So out of the first book of Corinthians, chapter 3, verse 11, for no one can lay any other foundation than what has been laid down. That foundation is Jesus Christ. So if you know in your heart that you are worthy of doing this service for others, of being a social worker, then your integrity is never going to be, is never going to be jeopardized. And the second one I found was in the book of Galatians, chapter 2, verse 21. I do not set aside the grace of God, for if righteousness comes through the law, then Christ died for nothing. So I think what Paul was trying to say was that we can't not give God credit for things, and that if we understand the grace of God, then we understand that Christ died for us so that we can uphold his mission and uphold his message to others. And so we have to uphold ourselves with the utmost integrity so that we can help people in the way they need it. And value 6 is competence. So as a social worker, you have to know your limits. You have to understand the areas that you're good at, the areas that you might need improving on, and what you need to do to make sure that you are professional at all times, because it can get hard helping people in different and unique situations. So the one that I found encouraging was in the first book of Corinthians, chapter 16, verse 13. Be alert, stand firm in the faith, be courageous, be strong, do everything in love. And I think if you go into the mindset of that as a social worker, you will not feel like you're not strong enough to handle something. You're not discouraged by any trials that may come your way with you and a client that you're trying to help. Thank you.